Hi, this is Greg Bufidis, the chairman and founder of Project Council. I'm here this week at LegalTech New York 2011. It's been a great show so far. My guest is Craig Carpenter of Recommind, and most of our viewers and readers will know that Craig and I had a very interesting interview last year. And this time we thought we'd grab him for a video interview. Craig, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know your schedule's been crazy.
My pleasure.
You guys are pretty much the mega gorilla, so to speak, in predictive coding, and I know you also this week, I believe, launched a new phase of that called predictive sampling. But before we get to predictive sampling, can you just give us an overview on your views on predictive coding?
Yeah, well, it's funny because 2 years ago when we were talking about predictive coding, there weren't that many people talking about it and there weren't that many people listening to it. Last year it started getting a lot more interest, and this year it's overwhelming, the interest in it and the awareness of it, which is great. And it's obviously worked out very well for us. So what we've done with predictive coding and pioneering that really has gained a lot of traction, and our customers are really benefiting from it, so which is a great thing for us. What we've done this year is we've added predictive sampling to predictive coding, which essentially is the defensibility button, if you will, that allows you to go through and use predictive coding for your review process, review a small fraction of a data set, and then have a statistical number and report that you can walk into a court and say, I know exactly what my quality control was, I know exactly what my process gave me, and by the way, I did it much faster and much more cost effectively than any other process out there. So we had the fastest and most efficient process. Now we have the fastest, most efficient, and most defensible process.
Okay. You guys also have been going gangbusters in Europe. I mean, our readers know that we had the opportunity at IQPC Munich in December to interview Simon and Helmut, I believe, which was kind of interesting, and our viewers can see that video again, which is embedded further down at this post. Tell us about why the skyrocketing activity in Europe.
Sure. Whereas in the States, as you know, it's civil litigation, but it's also the regulatory side has been very busy. In Europe, it's far more on the regulatory side because the e-disclosure market is it's not the same. I mean, the legal system is very different, but the regulatory side is very active. And so we've actually been working quite a bit, not just with our large corporate customers, but with regulators themselves, as we have here as well.
Which we found as Project Council, Project Council is European-based. We cannot believe the surge that we have, the calls we have for subjective review, and it's all regulatory and compliance.
Exactly.
It's not litigation.
And the interesting thing is the Bribery Act hasn't even gone live yet.
And it's been postponed yet again, my understanding.
Exactly.
By a couple of months, yeah.
But when it goes live, you have the 1-2 punch of the Bribery Act and the FCPA, which are going to ruffle some feathers, and they're going to mean more business. So what we've done is we've ramped up not just staff, but we've also launched data centers, a large one here in conjunction with a strategic partner, but also another one over in the UK, and we're rolling out other data centers in Europe to supplement our staff, because as you know, with the privacy laws being domiciled in Europe, there's much more comfort with data that stays in country. In fact, some cases it by law has to.
And the operations in Europe, obviously Germany is a significant market for you, the UK, where else?
We do a bit in Amsterdam. We do some more in Central Europe, the DACH countries, and then we're starting to get into Southern Europe. There've been some things going on down there you may have read about.
I've seen some Twitters. Yeah.
That's right, and the banks and regulatory agencies really throughout Europe are getting much more active. We actually do quite a bit in Brussels as well, and are looking to do more and more. But from our kind of base of operations, it's London and Germany tend to do a lot of business for us.
Okay. One of the things I noticed is, and we talked about it with the Recommind staff when we were in Munich, is, and it's something that I think is going to be a continuing development, the advancement of technology. Last night we had a great kind of a guy talk with Ralph Losey and Jason Barron.
Yep.
And they had a seminar here, as you know, on predictive coding. And they said it's got to go there because of cost savings and everything else. And obviously Recommind was mentioned several times in the conversation. Do you think we're at a situation where we seem to wake up in the morning and we go, my God, look at the technology now. Do you think this will just get to the point where we're going to think that 2011 was like nothing? Or
that's an interesting point. It's funny. We had a panel session on Monday, and one of our customers that uses predictive coding actually said that they thought within the next 10 years that review would essentially be done by black box entirely. I actually don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that'll ever happen.
The human touch will need, yeah.
I think it's a requirement, and it certainly is with predictive coding. But I think just the sheer numbers and the data volumes and the dollars at stake here, and increasingly the timelines, are forcing litigators to really automate. There really is no choice. And that's where I think, to your point, 2011 really will be the watershed year. Lawyers they don't embrace technology all the time by choice. They'll do it out of necessity. And what this year is giving them is a scenario where they really have no choice.
Which is kind of interesting because the conversation last night with Ralph and Jason, obviously Jason is the head of e-discovery and litigation for the National Archives. So he's looking at it from the standpoint of the government. And he's basically saying, look, Ralph's here talking about law firms and corporations. I'm the government. The government doesn't want to be paying $8 gazillion. Right. We have to move toward predictive coding. We have to move toward more automated review. He said it's just a natural. The government always tends to be maybe a couple of steps behind, but Jason's point was, we get it, we get it. Anything else besides predictive sampling we should be looking forward to this year from you guys?
From us, we're best known as the predictive coding company that pioneered it and really has benefited greatly from it. We actually do quite a bit on the left side of the DRM model, if you will. So with automated data classification, categorization, etc. And we're going to be doing a lot more on that front. It just doesn't get quite the headlines because it doesn't have as much the titillating factor to it. But and Jason Barron is a great person to ask about this in terms of managing the information well in advance of any sort of litigation or regulatory activity is really where not just government organizations but corporations need and want to go with respect to records management, data classification, data remediation. We're going to be doing a lot more on that front. We've engaged a bunch of our customers to work with them and figure out exactly where the best fit is. It's just, if you look at kind of the overarching trends, there's too much information, we can't get to it, we don't know how to handle it, and it's just too expensive to deal with in a reactive fashion. So we need to get a lot more proactive. So we'll be doing a lot more on that front.
All right, cool. Thanks for taking the time out.
My pleasure.
You guys have been completely swamped with things to do. You know how LegalTech is. You come up with a plan of meeting 16 people and all of a sudden it's 60.
Yeah.
That's great. This is Greg Carpenter from Project Counsel here at LegalTech New York 2011. Thanks for joining us.